Hello. I teleported here to tell viewers, please, like and subscribe to my channel. I grew up in a small town in Idaho. Like any other small town, partying was the only thing for younger people like myself to do on the weekends. Most of the time all of my friends and I would meet up and head out to some remote location so that we could drink beer and smoke weed without our parents bothering us. That tradition would change forever after one cold fall night in 2005. We all met up that Friday night at the local gas station to stock up on beer and cigarettes before heading out to the desert. It was one of those creepy sort of nights. The trees had just finished shedding most of their leaves and the bare branches slightly swaying with the wind made me uneasy. Those kinds of things always freaked me out. I remember telling myself to stop being such a pussy. Nothing bad had ever happened to any of us while we were out in that desert, so I knew that there was nothing to worry about, but regardless, I still couldn't shake this uneasy feeling that I had that night. Something just didn't feel right. I have since learned to trust my feelings when it comes to these types of things, but I certainly did not take those gut instincts into account that night. Our normal party spot was about 20 miles west of town. We would take the highway and then turn off on a small dirt road. We would follow that road until we came to a little canyon. Most of the area was relatively flat, so this little canyon made the perfect place to start a fire without anyone being able to see it from the highway. We started a bonfire with pallets as usual and sat around the fire drinking and talking. Several hours had passed and many people were starting to head home. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning. My friend Sarah and I weren't ready to head home for the night, so we decided to take a little drive out to Harrison Lake. The lake was about 10 miles further down the highway. It was a small body of water that wasn't good for anything other than catching the occasional small fish and swimming with the girls in the summertime. It was also a good place to park and talk. As we approached the small country road that led to the lake, I couldn't help but notice that someone else was already there. I saw the dim flickering light of a campfire near the parking area. This was somewhat unusual because this place was normally deserted this time of year. I decided to keep heading down to the lake anyway, thinking that I probably knew the people. When I pulled up to the parking area, the fire was about 20 feet off the road in a small field. I immediately noticed that something wasn't right. There were 6 people standing in a circle around the fire. They were all wearing black robes with hoods covering their heads and obscuring their faces. There was a large pole coming directly up out of the fire pit, sticking about 10 feet up in the air with some sort of animal impaled on the top of it. It looked like a cat, but I wasn't quite sure at the time. When Sarah saw this, she immediately grabbed my arm and said something along the lines of, "Holy shit, get us the fuck out of here." I agreed, but I couldn't leave without saying something to these freaks about the animal they were obviously torturing. I rolled down my window and immediately heard some kind of creepy chanting. Like they were all praying in some sort of fucked up, satanic worshipping way. It sounded like a form of Latin, but I wasn't quite sure. I looked directly at all 6 of them and yelled out my window, "We are going to report all of you freaks to the cops for torturing that goddamn cat." That was a mistake that I will regret for the rest of my entire life. One of the robed freaks immediately snapped its head in our direction and make the most god-awful growling noise. It sounded like a combination of a lion's roar and an old lady screaming. I immediately felt the hair on the back of my neck stand straight up. I slammed the car into drive and took off as fast as I could. At the same time, I saw this person or creature, whatever the hell it was, throw off its robe and go down onto all fours. It bolted down the road after us. I could see the moonlight shining off of its body in my rear-view mirror as I sped down the road toward the highway. It looked like some sort of half-man, half-werewolf. This thing ran faster than anything I had ever seen. In about 10 seconds it was running next to my window as I sped down the road. I was probably going at least 50 miles per hour and this thing had no problem keeping up with me. It looked over at me and screamed, "You're ours now. You will never escape us," in the most awful sounding voice that I have ever heard. It had no face, just two red glowing eyes and blackness. I floored the pedal and was able to finally pull away from this thing. We made it to the highway and I didn't see anything behind us after that. The entire ride home was unbelievably uncomfortable. We were fucking freaked out beyond belief. Sarah asked me if I would stay at her house that night because her parents were out of town and she didn't want to be alone. I agreed 100%. I didn't want to drive home alone anyway after seeing what I saw at the lake. After about 15 minutes of very fast driving I thought that we were probably in the clear by now. No one was following us and we were almost to Sarah's house. I had no clue that the nightmare we were experiencing was just beginning. We still had a long terrifying night ahead of us,